Well, it's been a busy month. It's been an extremely busy month. But I finally got some time to settle down, sit down for a little bit, and kind of take it easy. I am smoking Samuel, which is a Jerry R. Perry, I believe it's a Mountain Laurel. I think it is. And in it I have Capstan Blue. After about 6 or 7 weeks of some, I don't know what you would call it, man, some kind of process, I don't know, something going on with my senses, kind of a, somebody, I think it was Jess Piping, somebody called it the sniffer snafu, which is good. That's about right. Anyhow, after several weeks of this weird event in my smoking journey, where I could not taste tobaccos, or I tasted them, but they had weird, it was a weird taste. Kind of a wrestling match in my journey with tobaccos. It felt like a wrestling match. After that, for a few weeks, it's returned. I can taste again. So far, seems like it's all there. A very great relief. Big pain in the ass not to be able to taste the tobacco. But it would appear that I'm back in the saddle. I've been doing some taste tests with different blends, trying to, confirm, see if it's all there, see if anything's different. There are some differences. They're minor. They're not very, not big differences. But all in all, the taste is there, and yeah, it's a good thing. It's been a long day. It's humid outside. I'm a little too tired to kind of go into a whole lot of detail, but I want to try to cover what I can, because some people in the comments said that they were interested in how this thing would turn out. Well, long story short, I did some digging around online, and most of that digging was on the pipesmagazine.com forum. I found, after a decent amount of digging, several entries where other people said they had experienced the same thing. And, losing the taste of pipe tobacco, but nothing else. And there were some common themes that popped up in these reports that people were posting. One of them being that this happened early in their pipe tobacco smoking habit. Within the first 6 months to a year, that seemed to be a common theme. For the folks over there, it's not all that uncommon a thing. Everyone seems to have at least heard of it. But there were differences as well. Some people said that all the pipe tobacco started tasting like salt to them. Some said that it just took on a sour taste, almost a vinegar taste. Some people said that it seemed to be triggered when they smoked a lot of Latakia. And there was one guy that on one thread that even referred to it as Latakia blindness. There was another guy who he likened it to the effect that you experience on your senses when you move somewhere near the ocean. And for a while, when you first get there, you can smell the salty air, you can smell the fish. If you've been there long enough, you don't smell any of it at all, right? Your nose just kind of gets used to it. He said he thought that that's kind of what happens with pipe tobacco. They all had different theories on how that might happen, what might trigger it. But the general consensus seems to be that the solution would be to simply lay off smoking for a while, take a break, put the pipe down. So that's what I've tried to do. Over the past month and a half, there have been different stages to this taste loss experience that I don't want to sound, like listen, I have sat down and tried to film this video a number of times over the past half a week or so. And every time I do it, it's difficult to do without feeling like I'm over-exaggerating or being melodramatic about it. It really did a number on my head. And I'm trying to find some concise way to describe it and to kind of assess it, analyze it, and tell a quick story of what happened, how it happened, what I think the end result was. Usually, if I'm on a forum somewhere and I'm talking to people about a problem, I will try to do the common courtesy that I would want someone to return to me and give an update later. If I've got a problem and I find the solution, I'll come back later and make it a point to come back later and tell everyone, here was the upshot of the whole thing, here's what the final outcome was, and here's how it happened, to help future people who might encounter the same problem. I'm trying to do that here as well, because some people have asked me about this taste thing and said they wanted to know what comes of it, and it's for whatever reason it's a lot harder to do this in video format, so bear with me. But I can't help but feel overly dramatic or like I'm exaggerating too much when I talk about this thing. But the simple God's honest truth is that it's done a serious number on my head. And it messed with my mood, it messed with my emotions, my outlook on life. It had me rethinking everything. It nearly did throw me into a bit of a funk. I won't go so far as to call it a depression, but it threw me into a really funky attitude for a while that scrambled my head, and it was difficult to get over. And really, the long and short of it is that after trying to nail down what exactly was going on, why am I losing my tastes, I realized at some point that once again the pipe had forced me into some kind of state of reflection, of sitting still and assessing where I am and what I'm doing, how I'm living, and making some changes. With each bowl that we smoke, the pipe teaches us to slow down. With this experience of taste loss that I've just gone through over the past couple of months, it has taught me to do the same thing in a broader sense in the way that I'm living. I initially took on smoking a pipe because it seemed like it would help facilitate that, slowing down with life in general, And I think that in the excitement, the newness of all of it, the excitement of exploring all these different flavors, and you know how it is if you know you've been there. Whatever that excitement, maybe you could call it a childlike wonder that motivates pipe acquisition and tobacco acquisition. We all kind of go nuts and have fun and really go all out when you jump into this whole pastime, this activity. Whatever motivates that, it's easy to let it get out of control. It's easy to become gluttonous. It's easy to become rushed and forget to just sit and take it easy. And while I've tried to curb or at least moderate buying tobaccos and pipes, I guess in other ways I was giving into that attitude of gluttony is the best word I can think of. Really chuffing the tobacco, smoking as many different flavors as I can all the time, going nuts, just really, going all out on it and letting it consume my thoughts all day, every day. It's pipe smoking, and it's this part of it, it's that part of it. There's nothing wrong with being excited and having fun, but nothing is good in excess. And I swear to God, I think that maybe God himself, maybe the pipe tobacco gods, maybe whatever this thing is, whatever this is that captures us in some way, whatever that force or energy is, I think that it did what it is supposed to do, and it pushed on me. It created a situation in my life where I had to again sit still and stop with the rush, stop with consuming, mindlessly consuming. My foray into pipe tobacco smoking went hand in hand. It was part and parcel of a conscientious departure from this consumer mindset, constantly being pummeled with advertising, with propaganda of all kinds that's delivered in many different ways. I wanted to, Tim Leary talked about, there's that old line, turn on, tune in, drop out. And I had in mind some variation on that, or at least a different way of interpreting it and applying it to this experience of living in the modern technological chaotic environment that we do, where we're inundated with advertisement constantly and being spied on and having your feelings manipulated intentionally, right? That line, turn on, tune in, drop out. I had a notion when I got into pipe smoking of a different way of interpreting it. Turning on to a conscious way of living instead of just letting messages rattle me around. Turn on to your own your own conscientiousness. Tune in to something deeper and closer to the natural way of living. Get rid of all the noise. Tune into your family values. Tune into that still small voice. And drop out of this nonsensical, maddening pop culture that eats us alive. similar to what Leary was talking about, but a different twist on it. And I'd gotten so excited with this thing that I forgot that. I expect after this experience now that that's going to be a cycle, that'll keep happening over the years, over time. In this particular instance, with this particular cycle, it was profound, it was heavy, it was so thick and heavy that it resulted in the actual literal loss of my ability to taste and enjoy this. And I enjoy the taste of it so much that it really shook me. I took it very seriously. It had me rethinking everything about how am I eating? How am I sleeping? Where is my mind all day long? What am I dwelling on? What am I putting into my body? What am I spending my time focusing on? Where's the rush coming from? How do I curb gluttony? It had me reassessing all those things, and I've gradually been trying to make some changes in all those departments. And about the time that I started seriously doing that, lo and behold, the taste returned. It began returning, because it didn't just come back on like a switch. Like it went away like somebody switched it off. There was a week of things tasting like cardboard, and then just no taste, right? Just ash. It didn't quite come back that way. For a couple days I could taste things, then ash. Then I could taste things, then cardboard. Then I could taste things, and I could pick up tastes that I wasn't picking up before, that other people said were in certain blends, right? I picked up a bowl of Prince Albert one day, and I could not taste about half of the things that I was familiar with in Prince Albert, but I could taste, like, there's a molasses or a cocoa flavor that people describe that I had never been able to pick up before, and I could pick that out of there. A couple days later, can't taste Prince Albert at all. There were some other blends that were the same way. I was picking up hints of this and that. Early on, when smelling any kind of a Balkan blend, I've thought, man, it would be so nice if it actually tasted the way it smelled. I can taste some of those elements, but there are some that are delicious that I'm not picking up at all, and that was kind of frustrating. Well, one day I pick up, I think it was Nightcap, I don't remember what it was, and I could taste those elements that could be smelled that I was missing before, but the other ones went away. A couple of days later, can't taste anything. A couple days later, cardboard, right? So it's been that for the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So it didn't just come back immediately, but it kind of bounced back and forth. It has now been back constantly and in full flavor for going on a week, something like that. If I was to give a simple explanation that didn't dive into, theories and some kind of philosophy or something, I don't know what you would call the kind of language I've been using these past few minutes in this video, but if I were to try to just be straight and blunt and short, I would say, as of now, my theory on what happened here is that between poor diet, poor rest, and a rushed I primed my body, my olfactory senses, basically, to shut down if too much sensory input was applied. Then I applied that sensory input, overloaded the olfactory senses by going nuts on all different kinds of potent, bold tobacco flavors at once. I just kind of confused it and rattled it, and it shut off. It said enough is enough. And probably what contributed to that was the changing of the seasons. I've never had allergies, but this is allergy season. Because early on there was some strange thing happening in my sinus. I had some kind of a deep sinus infection that once got rid of, did not bring back, there was still an issue. So, I don't know. I don't have an answer for what happened. I think in a literal sense, I just wore my nose out. By overloading it. And in another sense, I set myself up for a much needed season of reflection. And it was really, I set myself up for it, and what got me through the door was the pipe. Again. I'll try not to go too far down some kind of woo-woo rabbit hole thing, but the more I do this, the more I smoke this thing, the more I think there's something, I don't know, something supernatural, something spiritual, something in a metaphysical realm. There's something to pipe smoking that I have not encountered in any other activity before. And I have difficulty articulating it. I use this as an exercise in practicing, learning how to articulate things. I don't know what to say, but this Captain Blue is tasting pretty damn good. It's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it tastes amazing. Like, it's so good. It's so good. So, I'm back in the saddle. And I've been away for a while because I was busy otherwise, and because I'm telling you, it's pretty tough to sit down and talk about pipe tobacco when you can't taste any of it. Super frustrating. But for now, that all appears to be behind me, and I'm going to pick up and carry on where I left off. That's the idea. I talk about having difficulty articulating things, and then immediately stumble on the name of the tobacco I'm smoking. Slow down.